What's going on, guys?
Hey, Tech.
Oh, different day, different shit.
Where's Amorgin?
He was putting some soup in the oven and making tea. He said he'd be in like 10 minutes.
Ah,
That was like 5 minutes ago or so.
this is gonna be a fun one. I don't think I could be here for the majority of it, but
Well, it's gonna be kind of quick because I gotta actually leave at like 5 o'clock, which is in like a little over an hour.
Yeah, I got stuff to do tonight too.
all right. Well, I can tell you guys we're already working on the replacement.
We are too, actually.
Well, I'm interested to hearing how it all comes about, like how the bots work and everything, because I bet there's some people that would like to start something else.
Well, we're already going at this point. There's already a huge server Discord server that just exploded with everybody that's currently copying all of LCARS as images into their respective channels, and then I've shared my object files that I have so far, and Aries, the community manager, is already in there. He's already pledged support to the update. So there's a ton of people already that are updating the wiki as well. So for those people that don't
Nice.
Discord bots, they'll update the wiki. So there's already plans of having a couple of complementary tools there. And I'm getting Voter and Mr. Hamster in there to use their Jaeger bot as a way to program all the commands and stuff. So
Nice.
Awesome.
That's better than what we have.
We're just collecting screenshots.
Right. So everybody's currently doing that right now. There's like a bunch of people that are going through LCARS Discord, and they're collecting all the screenshots for all the ships, the buildings, the researches, the officers, and they're posting it in the Discord channel.
Nice. Do you want to send me that link to that Discord channel?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go do that.
Sweet.
And then I'll put it in with our servers and replace it.
Yeah, I just happened to chance upon it, and then I posted my ship spreadsheet in there, and I'm like, look, I've already done this. You can start building off that, and all of a sudden everybody just start joining the fucking servers and going crazy on it. So I'm gonna post it in the Fireside chat here.
Thank you. Calvin, your archive.
And I was actually the one that got Aries into that server as well. So he's fully aware and he's fully supporting the effort that's going on.
I beat you, babe.
A lot of people.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. Tam, don't give me crap about my channels after looking at this.
Seriously.
Yeah, wonder what happened.
Okay, there it is. Dang, that's a lot of.
Like he's not letting anyone take over the channel. Like he just wants to shut it down.
I could have used this Armada information the other day.
Well, I'm sure some of the Armada information is outdated because it didn't take into account the
news
rates.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the Discord server is that there could be some sort of legal issue with using his code for the bot.
Well, that's why I was saying he can take the bot and go for all I care. Just leave the server behind and make the whole thing a read only if you wanted to. And people can just use the search icon, because 90% of the time when I use the Discord, the LCARS anyways, I'm just using the search to find what I need, because everyone's already done the commands for them.
Right. You know, I'm not gonna say much on here because, you know, I'll let Amorgin do the talking about him and his relationship with Fartasia. But I can tell you that they're, you know, like us all humans, we all have flaws.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that one of Fartasia's flaws is maintaining control and order. And since for some reason it seems like he can't control it, or he couldn't control it after they switched community managers, and that's what kind of caused his exit.
Oh, so you think Picard leaving caused a chain reaction to bring them to this?
Did you say Picard leaving?
Who was the community? Wasn't he the community manager that quit? Or
Panic.
Panic? That's right. I forgot. Sorry. I knew it started with a P.
Like, I don't know the behind the scenes. I really don't. I could just speculate from what others have told me. But
So Morgan, how's it going?
Welcome.
but again, this isn't really new, honestly. It's happened with HiveMind, it happened with LCARS 1.0, and
Yeah.
so at least he's giving the courtesy of keeping it on for 48 hours or whatever to have people copy the data.
True. That was gracious of him.
I mean, personally, if it was me, I would have given like a week so that people didn't have to rush like madmen.
Yeah.
At least it's on a lot of
Or at
people's
least
day off.
or at least I would have exported the data into like a manageable format
Mm,
so people can do whatever the hell they want with it. But whatever. He is who he is, and he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, we need like one of those Google bots that goes through and reads everything. I noticed that like people are starting right at the beginning with the Rialto.
Well,
I wasn't that bad. I started with the envoy, and Danny was giving me crap. Why are you starting with an envoy?
well, I didn't think anybody was really going to look up the information on the envoy.
Well, we have some. I say envoy. I don't know why. Yeah, but we still have a lot of envoy users.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and
I just
also,
feel like at that point that they're using a envoy, are they actually looking up the information on it?
I believe it's pronounced envoy, but that's
Yeah,
neither.
I like that. I like envoy.
excuse me a second.
And I left him alone, so he started there and moved on.
So we lost Morgan somewhere.
Again? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hopefully he's like restarting. I guess he's all the way in Ireland. There he is.
Yeah, Cook was telling me.
Come on back up.
Hello.
There you go. Your mic's
Hey,
working.
welcome.
What's up, buddy?
Hello. What the fuck is Techman doing here? I thought we'd agreed that he was out of the club now that he's a shell.
I'm a total Scopely shill. That's me.
What's the story?
With what?
Oh, that's what you're here to tell us.
Oh, Lyle, talk away on it. How not suitable for work is this? Like how
I think
profanity's okay and all that kind of stuff.
we're just waiting for Cook to come back. He took a phone call.
Right. Normally, does he try to keep it?
Yeah, not horrible.
Not non-vulgar. Like profanity is okay.
Keep it PG-13.
So
Yeah.
the other night when we were talking about with Cheapo about the cock he had on his server, that's not on here, no?
I haven't published that yet, Amorgin, so I don't know.
I know you fucking missed the boat on that now because it's all done and dusted.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I plan on releasing that in the next few days, actually.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's gonna sound like like little beeps like all throughout the whole thing. And it's mostly your track.
That's all right.
YouTube's
I'd rather be
gonna ban you
beeping than
guys.
squeaking.
That's a lot of work, Drift, by the way, to do all the beeping on Amorgin. My God.
Wait, you mean we actually have to worry about the cursing?
Well,
No.
if Drift's editing, then yeah, absolutely.
Oh, for
I
fuck's sake.
won't be editing that stuff out.
Yeah, well, last podcast you put was 3 hours, bro.
Yep, it's
Yeah,
bad. This
And
week,
Drift was really mad at me about that.
yeah, this week I'm like, we have to stick to a 90-minute time structure. There has to be a beginning and an end. Yeah, this is just a little extra thing we're doing. We're still gonna have one later.
Right. Yeah. So Amorgin is going to tell us all the story that he had with Fartasia. Actually, speaking of which, I can do you know the hologram? Does anybody know the hologram from the official Discord server?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he actually posted a story of kind of like the transition between Hive Mind 1.0 and 2.0. Now I'm sure he left out a bunch of details.
Did Fartasia post this, yeah?
Fartasia posted what?
Is it this thing you're talking about?
What, the story?
Yeah. Who was
No,
it?
no, that was hologram.
Who's hologram?
He's one of the junior developers on LCARS.
Fuck, send me that, will you?
Yeah. I'm also gonna try to get him on the show on Trek Talk so he could talk about it as well.
Put me on that show with him. Fuck.
Now be nice. He is actually
I'll be nice. I just pick holes in all of his fucking. Well, it depends. Like what he might say. Some of what he might say might be accurate and might be truthful. You know, some of it I might not know about. But if there's bits in there that's an outright lie, like I'm going to call it.
Oh no. Like let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. Now he posted it a little bit ago, man. Like these channels have been overflowing with fucking information.
How do I get an invite to here? Or maybe you don't want people invited here, Cook, do you?
Oh no, it's
Oh, it's fine.
yeah, it's fine. We are encouraging people to come.
Okay, how do I get a link?
Um,
I'm
it should
wondering,
be
do
able
I
to
have...
click on the server. I don't know if you're on your phone. If you hold, I'm
More
more
options.
familiar with PC, but there
Yeah,
should
let me
be
try
like
and do
an
that.
invite a
All right,
person, invite
I'll
people. It says.
Amorgin, I'll just give you the gist of the story so far. So he brings up Hive Mind. Hive Mind was then mined for all the information, and it was, absorbed into what's called LCARS 1.0. Then developers were brought on to try and get trying to promote a paid only feature, and that kind of caused a schism in there. He does mention Fartasia, and he does mention his troubling personality traits. He mentions the STFC wiki and how, effectively he went on a power trip and banned people from the LCARS Discord, which seems to be the wiki people. And then the bot was kind of forcefully taken from LCARS 1.0 and started LCARS 2.0. DMCA issues were brought up surrounding the code of the bot itself. Law firms were consulted, but eventually shit was let go. Anyways, I'll post the thing later.
It doesn't sound too off the track there. Like that sounds. Some of it I don't know anything about. I don't know about internally any legal action that they talked about. I just stayed away from 2.0, so I can't talk to any of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as far as I understood, what they talked about the legal action was that even though there is no technically copyright, there could be a legal claim because because of the code. So there were other people that had snippets of code that were offering to use it when Fartasia announced his going away party, and Ares basically told everybody to stay away from any STFC or like the LCARS bot wiki code. So if you're gonna write another bot, do it from scratch. Don't even name it LCARS, name it something else.
Right, and why is he saying that? Why is Ari saying that?
I would assume it has something to do with any kind of legal action that would be brought against anybody for some sort
Right,
of.
but the bottom line on this always was from day dot, and we can get into this in the show, like, but the bottom line on this always was when Hivemind went down, and there were claims that they stole our Fartasia stole our bot, he stole our thing. Fartasia then counterclaimed that he had helped write some of the code. It was then established that he'd literally wrote a couple of lines of code. He hadn't done any real significant work on it. And what he'd really done is gone in and mined the data and stole all the data. Not in a fair way where it's like you're just gathering data. Like we had talked with Voder, for example, about gathering data from 2.0. That this was done with a zeal. You've seen the screenshots. Like this was done with a zeal to bring down Hivemind, and force it to close and all of that kind of stuff. But the whole argument centered at that time on Scopely owned the data. It's freely available. It's out there, public access. So use it. Nobody can tell you not to use it. Likewise, the LCARS doesn't belong to, like, as you know yourself, we've been on the fucking Star Trek official Discord. They have an LCARS bot as well.
Correct.
None of us, if we want to call it LCARS, own any rights to that. CBS own the rights to that. Not us, not Fartasia, not Scopely.
Right. But I mean, that was just his things. He's willing to pledge. Ares is willing to pledge all sorts of resources and provide Scopely data to make this transition easier, and he's all for it. But just he said don't use the code from the LCARS bot.
I'd say that's less to do with any legal issue and more to do with just making this man go away with the minimal possible fallout.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you.
So you're on the same server as Fartasia. You've known him for a while, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, he was in my alliance for a long time.
Do you want to tell everyone else more about him?
I first met Fartasia. He wasn't one of the original members of our alliance. I suppose we'd say there's a core in our alliance that go way back. Like Hum are the oldest alliance in the game simply by virtue of the fact that we're Irish, and Digit launched the very, very first test server in Ireland, and there were very, very few other nationalities were playing it. So the bunch of Irish guys that are in Hum, a handful of others, like they go back it's like a dozen players that predate everybody else on in the game. So what we know is the founder server, which has recently been merged with server 196. what people know is that all of the people on that server, except for the 196 guys that we're together with now, all of them original founder servers guys predate the entire gaming population, the entire Star Trek Fleet Command population by about a year. They've been playing this game for at least a year more than everybody else. The longest serving player out there around the time of global launch in 2018. These guys, mostly Australians, are playing it for a good year before that. The guys I'm talking about, the dozen or so guys that go back that form my alliance, go back a good 6 or 8 months before them even, right? So Farty and a lot of the Australian guys were like newbies that came along. We were on the very original test server. They closed that down. They reopened it, and the Australians were there with us. So we started playing with all the Australian guys, a few New Zealanders and a few others as well, but mostly Australians. And there was, as you can imagine, there was lots of little wars. There was lots of alliances. People were fighting with each other, getting to know each other. And then Scopely took over the game. So this was all pre-Scopely days as well. This is when Digit and DGPRM and all of those were involved. And then when Scopely took over the game, Scopely had different plans for the game. And then we heard that there was actually another server, that there was a server 2, and that they were going to merge us. And that happened. And it was through that then we started to hear that there were lots of people on server 2 who were looking at building resources for the community and different wee things. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me on this. I might have some inaccuracies in my memory. I'm getting old, but if I remember correct, the wiki and Sasha, who was building the wiki, was on that server too. But it was mostly Australians as well. But Fartasia was on our server. He was one of the Aussies. We didn't really know him that well or anything. Everybody was getting to know each other. There was only these 2 servers in existence. Scopely takes it over, merges them. They messed that up. Another content creator, a close ally of Fartasia's, a guy called Econ. Some of you might be aware of Econ. Econ's done videos, and one of his pet hates and one of his issues always was how they bungled that first ever merge that they done before global launch in 2018. And then we move into when global launch is happening. So as you can imagine, at that time, for us who had been playing it a year and more, this was very exciting times because this was going global. The player base was going to expand exponentially here. Like, this was going to be amazing. And all the questions were there. Is our servers going to be open? Can you switch servers? Will people be able to join us? All those things were there, only for us to find out that we were actually closed. We were a closed server. Nobody was going to be able to join us because we had these different mechanics. And another wee issue there that I've been trying to get DJ and a few others to highlight is the loss of our refinery mechanic that we've had for like 3 years probably at this stage. That's been taken away from us, and the hope always was, and anybody that's familiar with me and my YouTube channel and the content that I done with the community panel last year and the year before, this was one of the issues we tackled, was when eventually they open our server, merge our server, will they give us this extra refine option and bring everybody else into line and give them extra G3? But that's a side issue. We're talking about LCARS and Fartasia, so sorry for getting sidetracked. But it was around that time when I suppose things started to hot up that I kind of became more aware of Fartasia and who he was. Hivemind was in development. The wiki was in development. These community resources were starting to emerge because the game was going live on a global scale. And so everybody was sitting thinking about, well, we have all the knowledge, we have all the experience in this, everybody that's going to be joining this game. Some of you guys might remember there was a YouTuber brought in called Orange Juice Gaming, and that was a debacle altogether. It was like, in terms of the way the community managers were handling that at the time, this guy was supposed to do a Q&A or an AMA on Reddit, and he backed out of it because he was going to be torn to pieces, because he was flying around in 2 shitty little jellies, the original jellyfish, and he didn't really know what he was doing. But he had like 2 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, and it was basically free advertising for Scopely with their new, fresh, shiny product. But the players who were around and already established at that stage were raging about this, and they were going, this man knows nothing about this game. How are we meant to do an AMA to ask him about this game? And I suppose it was around that time that there were people like me and a lot of experienced players like Phil-Luc Picard, who's the moderator there with Scopely, and guys like that. There's a lot of these guys that are around a long time that were going, well, we have all this knowledge, we have all this experience, we know this game. So heads were starting to kind of bang together and ideas were starting to formulate. And like I say, Hivemind was developing, Wiki was developing, and all these things were on the cards. Different groups were doing them. And there was a little bit of rivalry, I suppose, because in the game we were having our wars. And one alliance is fighting another alliance, and one alliance is this project, and another alliance is that project, and the different personalities involved. And in those early days, people threw their shoulder to the wheel behind the Hivemind project, for example. So guys like Phil, Luc Picard, and Fartasia, and myself, and others were part of that Hivemind project. Now, I was useless when it came to actually coding and programming. Like, that's not my thing. But what I was able to do in my newly emerging YouTube channel was bring attention to this and highlight it and work on that. But because of in-game politics, Hivemind started to ban some of the gays because our alliance were at war with their alliance and all of this kind of thing. And our gays, maybe some of them might have been doing a bit of trolling and shit like that there in the Hivemind channels, whatever it was. So they all got banned. All the HUM members got banned from Hivemind. And the Hivemind project was starting to flourish because people from lots of different servers were getting involved. But we really didn't like the idea that we were being punished. We were the only players in the entire community that were not allowed to use this bot that has all the information in the game that some of us had helped with. We weren't allowed to use it. You know, we were the only players in the game. Like, this 50, 60 players were the only ones in the whole game that were banned from using this, like, right? And it was because of in-game wars and stuff that was going on. And we found this to be very petty and all of that there. And so we had our rows with NetHet and Farside and these kind of guys. Now, incidentally, I have a private chat with NetHet and Farside there, and I'm getting on with them guys the best. It's water under the bridge. We talk and numerous times, and a shout out to NetHet and Farside, and I wish them all the best. They've said, I wish we had talked like this back in the day, but we were all too far up our own arses, wrapped up in what we were doing. So little rows were happening, and there was paranoia about who's doing what. And to my mind, and again, I won't have all of the information, right? But to my mind, Fartasia came into the game at that stage, and he got on my radar at that stage because I was already working within the community stuff, promoting my YouTube channel. And I had this alliance, who were the oldest alliance in the game, with all of this knowledge. Phil had become a moderator for Scopely. Q2, who had been the original community manager. Q2 was not a close personal friend, but he was on our server in our game. He was the community manager, the equivalent of Ares now, or Panic as it was. Q2 joined our alliance. I have numerous private messages in game and on Discord with Q2 when he left that role. So we were kind of at the heart and at the center of all of these fresh emerging community resources that were coming. Some of us were friends with each other, some of us weren't, but it was everybody on our server. If you look at it in terms of a ratio of people that had started to build these resources and were working at these, the ratio was huge compared to any other server that's out there in terms of the amount of people that got offered NDAs by Scopely, for example. Lots and lots of people on our server were working in these areas, and there were NDAs on the table for them, myself included. I turned mine down ultimately, but lots of us were getting offered to basically NDA with the company and work on the community end of it. Some of them guys went and done it, and are still there to this day. Guys like Phil, Octo, Fartasia, Econ, I think, had one, and then it was removed possibly, and a few others that were there at one time and they're gone now. And all was good. Fartasia joined our alliance. Q2, like I say, was in our alliance for a while. He left then after a while, but we had these guys in our alliance. We weren't allowed to use Hivemind. So, and Fartasia had that bit of experience doing coding and all of that. So it was a case of him saying, I've been working on Hivemind. I can get the data. So we set up it was Octo set up the Discord channel. We set about creating what was intentionally a very, very basic, I'm talking very basic bot that our alliance could use that had very basic information. And we were setting about to grab that information from wherever we could get it, from within the game, from Hivemind, from the wiki, anywhere we could get information. And we knew it was going to be a slow process of building our own independent bot for our alliance. It was never meant to be anything more than that. Octo called it LCARS. They set it up, and Fartasia went about coding the shit into it, right? With a couple of guys like Devilman and a few others who had some coding experience who were going to be helping out with that. All of those guys eventually were the core of what we knew as LCARS 1.0, because eventually, when it became obvious that Fartasia had this zeal, it was like a real venom towards Hivemind because of whatever history he had with them, whatever had been going on. I got kicked out of Hivemind, but I kind of kept reasonably good terms with NetHet and Farside, even though it was distasteful, even though I didn't like it. I wasn't sore about it. Like, you know, I was slagging them off, saying fucking petty arseholes and all of this kind of shit, but I wasn't like, I didn't have a venom towards them, right? Farty had a real venom towards them, to the point of where he was doing really late hours. He was sitting up all night, determined. Like, I never seen a man with the bit between his teeth as much. He was determined to bring Hivemind down. And some of the other guys would have been more than happy to see Hivemind fold, because they kicked us out, and you know they were enemies in the game. It's like, fuck them, right? Apologies for the cursing, right? But that's kind of the way that was for a while. And Farty went about, and others went about, gathering as much information as possible, and we built LCARS until NetHet and the Hivemind crew realised that shit was going down, that there was this rival, in inverted commas, developing. And she reacted very, very badly to this. And stuff happened there that I don't want to get into, that was more to do with this group of people who had NDAs with Scopely, right? And infighting and bickering started and some of the really, really old moderators that go way, way back to the very start will be aware of this, if any of them are still about. Some of them guys who are no longer moderators but were NDA'd back then, they'll be aware of what I'm talking about here, in the sense of underhanded, kind of petty kind of stuff that was going on because of this rivalry. And it resulted in Panic at the time having to make a call, and Panic having to do something about it. And at that time as well, we had the emergence of a thing called Scotty's Workshop, which was basically cheating in the game. You were able to locate bases, you were able to pay a fee, and you were able to locate people's bases when their shields would drop, things like this. And that had to be stamped out by Scopely. And there was all of this speculation about who's doing this, who has access to Scopely's API, who has the capacity to do such a thing. And it turned out that it turned out that they had to stamp out Hivemind. There was all this speculation. They had to stamp out Scotty's Workshop, and there was all the speculation that maybe Hivemind and Scotty's Workshop are linked together, but nobody knew that. And Scopely came out with an announcement to say these two things are not related to each other. But the way it was done just kind of it set it in the mind of people that, why are you making an announcement about these two bots that exist in the one post? They should have been kept completely separate. But you're getting one post officially from Scopely saying, here's Hivemind, here's Scotty's Workshop. They're in no way connected. It just felt wrong. And all of this pressure, there was way more to it, but all this pressure that was going on, eventually Hivemind imploded. NetHet through the tower lane. There was a whole big fucking fallout to that there. Little bit like what we're seeing today when it comes to this massive community resource that everybody is using is shutting down. She's closing the bot, and people are going, well, why don't you give the bot to the community? And they didn't do that. So people were left going, well, what the fuck? So naturally, everybody started to go, where are we going to go for our information? So the guys started to put their hand up and say, well, we've got this LCARS thing, right? And there was a little bit, I'll be honest, there was a little bit of like, fuck you to Hivemind, like, we'll do this now, but it wasn't the intention to begin with, you know? And people started to gravitate towards LCARS. So LCARS started to grow. And at this stage, it was my alliance that was building this. It was my guys that I play with that were gathering the information, looking at screenshots and how much an upgrade is going to cost and all of this kind of shit, added with whatever data Farty had scraped from Hivemind. So it was underway. And so we set about promoting it. We set about going, right, let's do this. Let's create this resource for the community. And time went on. New content creators came into the frame. They started to professionalize the community program within Scopely. Panic started to professionalize his team, get them together, and started to kind of turn into what we know is there today. And while that grew, and when LCARS eventually outgrew official Star Trek Fleet Command Discord, it became bigger, it had more members in it. To my mind, people started to get a little bit carried away with with how important they were. And they were starting to forget why we had originally built this bot, all of the people that had actually put their time and effort into promoting it in its early days. And because all of these hundreds, thousands in some cases of people who were coming to contribute to this community resource, it now no longer needed my alliance members with their shoulder to the wheel. It had kind of spread its wings and it had started to fly. So my alliance sat back and went, we no longer own this. This belongs to the community now, you know. So off LCARS went, and it flew and it sprouted its wings and it sailed for a while. And one night I had a conversation, a voice chat with Fartasia, and he started to say shit to me like, don't tell Phil and Octo, you know, these are my guys I played with from day dot. Don't tell them this, but I'm planning to do meetings in Dublin with Digit, and I'm planning to, and I'm sitting in a 3-hour conversation with this man going, what the fuck is he talking about? Why is he telling me not to talk to our main guys here? Like, what is he at? And then when he started talking to me about, eventually I'd hope to be able to sell this bot to Scopely or not, and whatever, alarm bells started ringing in my fucking head, and I started going, hold on a second, this isn't what we're about. This isn't why we built this here. Why are you sitting here telling me that you want to fucking go and make profit of this? And I'm not one to stick my nose in the trough. So I just kept my mouth shut and I nodded my head politely and was like, yeah, Farty, whatever, no problem. But from that moment on, I kept an eye on what Farty was doing, because this was a man that was not working with our team and with our guys. And there was a few others that were a bit wary of how he was behaving and how he'd got carried away with his ego now over the LCAR stuff. So eventually the shit hit the fan. I blasted Farty out of it publicly in our alliance channels. He reacted very, very badly. I got kicked out of my alliance. Phil and Octo and all the guys tried to smooth that over and settle it all down. I was out on my own, abandoned, fucking kicked out and rowing my own boat. And Farty spat the dummy and made all of these like crazy, like I got kicked out of LCARS as well. And I all these crazy demands Farty started to make of the guys around I should never be allowed back into the alliance. All these things need to happen, that he needs to get handed over the admin permissions of LCARS. He needed to get all of these things and all, because he wasn't happy over this blowout that had happened, and a bunch of other things that might have been going on under the surface in other areas that I wasn't privy to. And the boys never give in to his demands. He made all of these demands. He gave them a time frame, said within 10 days, whatever, yous need to do this. The boys thought they'd blow it off, and there was this Farty spitting the dummy and acting like a child, and eventually it'll all sort it out and whatever else. But he didn't. What he went and he done is he filed DMCAs with Discord, threatened legal action, put the boys in a position where they had to reveal to Fartasia and others then, because it would become a legal action where their real life names and addresses and all would have to be submitted to challenge the legal action that was being threatened by Fartasia. And they just said, screw it, let him have it, fuck it. You know, we'll get him in the long grass, you know, his time will come. And that's been proven right, because Farty went off with this narrative. All the ass-kissing content creators and NDA'd fuckers and every other prick around this fucking community was sitting there fucking going, Fartasia's a great fella, Fartasia's a fucking thief, and he's a fucking liar. But there's only a handful of people that know this about him. And I've been flat out, and Tech and the guys know this here, I've been flat out banging that drum for a while, like, and telling Farty, I will haunt you, you bastard, you know, and Farty knows this, like, right? Now, after all of that, I will say one thing. Farty might have real life shit going on, so this is all to me within the game. This is all this Star Trek Fleet Command world. In reality, I wish Farty all the best. I want the best for him and his family. I hope his real life is going all right. I hope the man sorts out whatever it is that's going on in his real life, and that that improves for him, whatever the issues are. I bear no real world ill towards that man, because I don't know him ultimately. But when it comes to this bubble of Star Trek Fleet Command, he's my fucking mortal enemy. And I will take him out if I get the chance. And he's on our server, and we've had our battles, and I've chased him around the universe a few times, and he's raided my base with the Rog lads and all of that kind of shit. But we keep that to within the game. Some people will get carried away and take shit outside of the game. That's not me. I don't see it that way. But when it comes to Discord, YouTube, fucking Reddit, Star Trek Fleet Command channels, all of that kind of stuff, it's all fair game. It's on, you know, it's a war. Let's have it, like. And that's my side of the story. And I don't even know if you guys are still recording or can hear me.
Yeah, you kind of went off on a tangent there, but you got a lot of information in that I didn't know. But that's interesting.
Our talking there, Cook, you're talking 2 or 3 years of stuff that I've tried to condense into what there, 10, 15 minutes. You know, that is the abbreviated version even, you know what I mean? And I still don't have the full picture on some of the stuff that went on. I can only tell you from my point of view how it seemed to me.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I was sad to see something like that go. But what Tech is saying is, I'm looking forward to seeing a new one grow, because a lot of us use that regularly as for information.
Amorgin, what was the how long was our initial chat that we had? I think it lasted like 2 hours.
Yeah, like we've done a few long conversations as well. Like,
Yeah, because I can't remember how I got introduced to you. It might have been through Dreamweaver. And then you started telling me about all the things with Deuce and Fartasia and Hum, and I'm just like, holy fuck. It's like historical walking database of Star Trek Fleet Command here.
and to be fair, lads, Phil Luke Picard is the guy you want to be talking to. Like Phil predates me in this game, only probably by a couple of months, or a couple of weeks even. But like he predates me, and that man's got a fucking memory. Like I don't know what. Like you know, he'll remember dates of things and stuff like that. There, and he's a cool-headed sort of guy, because the amount of times I've tried to get him in to tell what he knows, and he doesn't. You know, he plays his cards close to his chest, and he plays it cool, and that's why he is where he is with Scopely and all of that. You know, I've taken a different road, but there's, like I say, there's like 12 people maybe left that go back to the very, very early origins of this game, and 11 of them are still in the same alliance. You know, and it was that alliance that built the first LCARS when Hivemind kicked them out.
Also, one more
I
thing,
tried.
if I can add. I actually am in 196 and I got merged with 190 recently. The minute the merge was announced, Fatih just started talking bad about Hom. He started messaging people, everybody in my alliance, and started talking crap about people in Hom.
Yeah, I think she posted the same thing on the podcast.
Yeah, and it's like, and how you doing, VReddy? I think this is the first time we've actually chatted.
Yeah.
You know, Reddy's come and joined Hom now, and it's great to see new players come in and get new blood
I
into
actually had
it.
to leave temporarily. Sorry, but I left temporarily because my alliance needed me. I'll come back.
No bother, but it's great to see the new blood, is what I'm saying. It's great to see new players, because we've been stuck in this melting pot for 3 years, 4 years in some cases. I'm well into my 5th year. I'm approaching 5 years of this game now. I believe, and I'll always say that Hum have offered something. Like I was kicked out of Hum, you know, for calling Farty out and blasting him and not being very nice to him. It's not like the lads turned on Farty and, you know, took my side. I got kicked out. You know, Farty had every opportunity there to settle his head and work it out with me. I mean, I have screenshots there where I can show where Phil created a chat for me and Farty to iron out our differences. I mean, literally all I was calling Fartasia out on was, you've forgotten where you fucking come from, man. Why are you kissing Rev Deuce's ass? Why are you going kissing Scopely's ass? Why are you going around with this fucking big-headed ego shit and forgetting your own people? We've got a dozen fucking content creators on our server. We've got 3 or 4 in our own alliance. Where's the promotion for them? You've got LCARS under your belt here, and you're not even promoting one of them guys. Like, to illustrate this for you guys on 34 and with Voder, imagine Voder had built this bot, got to like 50,000 people, and he never promoted Techman's podcast or this podcast, and was only promoting Rev Deuce and the big guys. You'd be asking questions going, hey, what the fuck, lad? We helped you build this bot. Like, we promoted it. Like, what the fuck? Like, and that's literally all I did. I wasn't nice about it, but I called him out and said, quit kissing ass, quit kissing the ass of the whales, quit kissing the ass of Scopely and remember the gays that are here. And he reacted really badly with me, and I gave it back to him, both barrels, and I got kicked out for it because I had started the fire, you know. And I took that. I took that on the chin. I accepted my medicine. I said, you know what, lads, I accept your reason for it. There might have been a better way to do it, but it's done now. And I had guys, senior guys in the Alliance saying, we want you back, we're leaving if you don't get back, and all of that kind of stuff. So it created privately a rift between our main guys. And I was saying to them guys repeatedly, don't leave on my account, guys. Keep the thing together. You know, we're home at the end of the day. We're here longer than anybody else. We've got something that we believe nobody else has out there. Keep that together because that's more important. And I bided my time because I knew that Farty was going to act like a petulant child. And I knew that he was going to shoot himself in the foot. It was inevitable. And he did that. And eventually, once he showed his true colours, and he shit on all the boys, he shit on Phil, he shit on Octo, he shit on Devilman, he shit on all these guys, he got their Discord accounts deleted. Because them guys had admins on Hum's original Discord channel, that was our Alliance Discord that went right back to like late 2016, late 2017, whatever it was, early 2017, whatever it was. All of that information, all of them old posts with old members that were there, all the history of that Discord, that fucking Discord got deleted. We had to start a new Discord channel. And loads of shit like that was fallout privately for our Alliance that Farty caused by going down this legal action route, you know, by getting solicitors involved and all this kind of shit. So he pissed a lot of people off that he didn't need to, because he had this venom inside him. And eventually, when he left, he went and he joined our mortal enemies. He went and he joined ROG. He joined the other side. He took a bunch of people with him that backed him up. And a lot of the ROG OGs eventually came and joined us because they couldn't stomach the idea that this guy who had brought down Hivemind was in their team. So they left and they joined us. You know, it's a mad situation. Like, so mortal enemies of us to begin with, and when Fartasia was with us, who were avid supporters of Hivemind that didn't want us in Hivemind, ended up joining us because they knew what Fartasia had done. Right? And I'm not saying, like, there was fuckery on all sides. People were shafting each other on all sides. Like, I'm not making out like we were entirely innocent at all times. But we weren't the ones taking it out into the real world and real venom outside of fucking pixels, like, and Discord and Reddit and YouTube, like, you know, that's all bullshit, really, at the end of the day. When you start to take this really personally in real life, then there's a problem. And that's what Fartasia does. So that worked against him in the end, and it's worked against him now because his plans didn't work out the way that he wanted. Like VReddy's after saying there, first thing that he done when he went and he joined the server before the merge was just straight away in there start to badmouth us, like, you know, instead of being the figurehead that he claims to be and being magnanimous to enemies and friends alike and being mature, he's going in with this petty thing. So people can see for themselves. It boggles me that when the evidence is presented, people still don't see it. Like, I posted screenshots there on my channel and on DJ's channel, and we videos that I've done which shows that he's calling this bot Octo's bot. It shows that his whole intention is to destroy Hivemind. This was not about for him building a community resource or helping people out. The one thing I'll say about Rev Deuce will talk an awful lot of shite. Rev Deuce will claim to be about the community and all of that there kind of stuff, right? And people will fall for that and believe that Rev's a great fella. Privately, I'll talk to Rev, and Rev will say, I need to make money out of this because this is going to be my job, right? And so I give Rev a bit of credit that even though he's bullshitting a lot when he's on YouTube, and Rev is talking about how he's such a community man, which is a whole load crock of shite. Rev's no more a community man. Rev's all about the numbers. But at least privately, YouTube content creator to YouTube content creator privately, Rev will say to me, I got to pay the bills, man. This is what I got to do, right? This is the way I'm going about it. And I have to go, okay, fair fucks to you, Rev. Like, you go do what you have to do, you boy. I'll take the piss out of him a wee bit and I'll challenge him and stuff. But he'll be honest man to man with me. Fartasia was never like that. Fartasia was always trying to spout a narrative that was bullshit. So that's my saying that I could go on all night about this. Like,
So what is going on about him shutting this down though? Is it kind of like I'm gonna take my ball and go home? Essentially?
It looks very much like what HiveMind done. One of the criticisms we would have had with HiveMind, and and I don't like saying this here because Net will give her own view on it, and I've built bridges with Net and Farside in the last year or so. So I don't like speaking on their behalf, but they done something like that in my book. There were people stepping forward when HiveMind closed, saying, "Give it to us, and we'll run it. We understand this has spilt over into your real life. It's causing you stress and hassle that you don't need. You don't have the stomach for it anymore. You don't have the appetite for it anymore. Give it to us, and we will run it." And they didn't do that. So the keys of the kingdom never got handed over. And to me, that was failing the community. If you're about the community, let the community take it over. The same, I think, applies here with Fartasia. You're right. It's like, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home. But what's probably worse about this here is nobody said, don't use the data from HiveMind to build a new bot. That was the repository of information. So that's your first point of call if you're going to build a new bot. It's shocking to me that RAs and that will say, don't use the data from HiveMind, because that data is free for all. Farty's particular style of coding arguably could be his. But to be fair, my understanding of it, and again, I'm no expert, Voder or somebody would be much better at answering this here. To my mind, if you're writing code, you don't even own that code as such, because all you're doing is using a style of code that it's achieving a purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like that, if you're using like Python or any of these kind of things that is going to program something, you don't own Python. You don't own the way that they have set up their software for you to be able to use it. You're using something that was created before you came along to write code. But I'm no expert on that there. I know that the main argument, sorry, that Fartasia and Econ and all of these will have is that Farty wrote this code. So let him keep his fucking code. Nobody needs his code. There's any amount of coders out there and developers out there who can write code. But the data that exists within LCARS should certainly be made available to others, because that was contributed by Scopely, and originally the foundation of that was built by the wider community. Thousands of people contributed to that.
So is there public API data out there? Or did Scopely say, hey, here's the data, you build a bot for
In
it?
the early days, I can't say. I suspect that Scopely learned the hard way about API access because of what happened with Scotty's Workshop. I don't know, but I suspect that Scotty's Workshop came about because Scopely's security wasn't very strong. And access to the API was gotten regardless. Whether Scopely agreed to that or not, I don't know. But one thing's for certain, that got tightened up when they had to shut down Scotty's Workshop. And it was a long time before LCARS got recognised by Scopely, because how the hell, after Scotty's Workshop and the HiveMind debacle, how the hell do you trust anybody else? You need to give this shit time to see if it's trustworthy or not. So all the guys, Octo, Phil, Fartasia, all the guys got NDA'd by Scopely eventually, and so LCARS got endorsed then by Scopely. And the argument then always was to get access to more data, more information. And that's one of the things that Panic worked on, was providing that to Fartasia and to the guys. NetHet and Farside will tell you when they were building HiveMind, one of the issues that they had with Scopely was that they were refused access to the API. That they were pushing for access to the API and it was refused to them. So whatever the detail about that, Scopely certainly weren't openly just offering it to anybody. There had to be NDAs signed and things like that before anybody get their hands on anything. And that's what happened with LCARS.
Well, so hopefully something new will come about this, something better. But yeah, it's sad to see all this go down.
I'm looking around and I'm looking at, in fairness, I'm surprised that DJ is more congratulatory or more giving more credit to Fartasia than even Rev Deuce has. But all of the language that's being used, which let them at it, it's not how I would do it, but they're all very much like, oh, Fartasia, great guy, he put in all this time, all this effort, and all of this kind of shit, despite knowing and seeing the screenshots and seeing the evidence that I have shown where Fartasia has stated this is Octo's bot, where Fartasia has stated that his purpose was to bring down Hivemind, and that's why he put in the time and effort into building LCARS. This is all there. Now you can doubt, like you can say, okay, screenshots can be photoshopped and stuff like that there, and reserve your doubts, but you don't go praising somebody when there's a question mark over them, and claiming that they've done all of this great work. They didn't. And at the end of the day, there was a lot of people that helped Fartasia there in LCARS. Where the fuck are they? This was not the Fartasia show. He wanted it to be the Fartasia show because he always wanted to be king of the castle because of whatever ego issues the man has. But LCARS was not just about Fartasia. There were people like Ripper and other people there who were contributing to that. Why isn't this being handed over to them? And maybe in fairness to
Well, I
Ripper.
do want to point out that the new effort, Ripper and Dav Barsko and a bunch of other dudes, they're in this new effort, if you will.
Right. So, in fairness, maybe Ripper doesn't want to touch it. From what I'm told, again, I don't know the detail of it. I'm not a coder. I don't know what is a good line of code and what's a bad line of code when I look at it. But what I'm being told by people is Ripper's code is way better than Fartasia's code. So maybe
Ripper's also working on something with Scopely, so they've got some sort of agreement going on.
Yeah, when they asked Ripper on DJ's podcast, he was like, "Yeah, I want to do it," and they were like, "We'll get you an MBA as soon as possible," kind of thing.
Right, and I wonder, is that why on DJ's channel, Ripper's tag is now Criminal Ripper? Has Ripper been labelled somehow as being a bad guy, because he's gone off and pursued?
No,
that was just his nickname.
Right.
Ripper did the joke by himself, number one, and Ripper was already under NDA, by the way, because he was helping with LCARS. He was NDA even before that particular podcast, just for information.
Right.
Anybody who works who worked with LCARS like Ripper, they were under NDA because Ripper basically helped Fartasia actually with LCARS, so he's already under NDA. There's nothing new. That particular thing was, Aries was just joking, saying he'll give him a job. That's different from an NDA. You guys kill the chat.
I'll say this much. I think Aries has been a lot more responsive than Panic has ever been.
Oh, absolutely.
They're different. Different styles, I guess.
I just had a question real quick, please. What is the NDA you guys keep talking about?
Non-disclosure
agreement.
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Yeah, I've read the NDA paperwork. I was sent it, and it was emailed to me, and I looked it over and all of that. But it wasn't. Maybe I'm naive to the way these things work, but I looked at it and I went, I'm being asked for everything here, and I'm being promised nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm going to sign my real name and sign a contract in the real world with a company, I want to see something for me in it. It can't all be like, I agree to this, I agree to that, I agree to all of these things. Where's the in return you will get this, that, and the other? There was nothing like that. It was just, you're going to agree to all these things, sign it. And I was like, I'm not going to agree to any of this here. I'm going to go and do it my own fucking way. Good luck to you. That didn't go down too well, but it is what it is.
I will admit, I never understood why so many of these guys volunteer to do all this extra work without anything to gain financially from it. And I don't know how much, you would know better than I would, how much they actually give them within the game.
I mean, at one point, they gave a decent lot before when it was only Reduce and Fortis, and now on Shell, they used to give them a lot of resources like G3, Uncommon, and all that. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, like I got it. Like it didn't require an NDA. Like Panic always promised me that he would give me stuff, free stuff, without an NDA. The only thing, what he told me, the only thing the NDA was good for was that if something was due out on a certain date, I could get access to it a couple of days beforehand. So I would have knowledge of stuff before it actually went public. It didn't stop me from getting free shit out of him, even though I had no NDA. Like,
Yeah, this can be useful if you're a content creator, so you have time to develop stuff prior to it coming out. And I would see why they'd want you to sign an NDA for that.
It was funny
Well,
how quickly they took LCARS off of the content creator list this morning.
The whole content creator stuff got changed due to it actually got due to everybody touting how if you become a content creator, you can get free stuff from Scopely. I think when I interviewed DJ, he touched upon that particular aspect of be a content creator, ask Scopely for shit, they'll give it to you because, as Amorgin, you know, back in the day, if you got viewers and you got people into the game, they gave you a whole shitload of stuff. And that became a real competitive disadvantage for anybody else. I mean, imagine, top dude on our server is Inko, right? You know, he's got tier 10, all 3 tier 10 G4 ships. They might be at tier 12 by now. Who the fuck knows? But imagine if you got all of that without paying a dime. I mean, it's just a problem.
yeah. Well, like, sorry to burst your bubble, but see all these content creators that you're talking about, DJ, Reduce, all these kind of guys are doing all this shit. I done it all before these guys, for fuck's sake. My most fucking popular video, hands down better than anybody else's, dates back years, like, anyway, was 5 ways to get faction ship blueprints. And that's to this day still getting views. Like, that to this day is on over 40,000 views. That basically, like, it outlines at the time 3 of the common ways to get faction ship blueprints, and then the last 2 is me taking the piss and saying become a content creator, fucking talk to Scopely, send Panic a letter and beg for them, you know. That's been over by far my most popular video to this day. Like, I don't have to, I'm still fucking getting views on that. That'll get more views in the next month than a new video that I'll do. Panic sent me a message, like, after I'd done that, there, complaining about how I positioned myself. They really, really weren't happy, and that's going back like fucking 2 years. Like, it really pissed them off because I'd refused an NDA, and I went, lads, if you want freebies for this game, become a content creator. Because I'd gone and done it, and I was very open about it, and I said, this is the way it works. I'm after getting this free shit. And I didn't even have an NDA. And it really, like, it threw Panic under the bus a little bit. Like. So yeah, all the other content creators came along afterwards, and cat was out of the bag, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
They stopped doing that. They stopped giving all these guys stuff. I mean, I know that DJ still gets stuff that he gives away.
They will still get
no.
stuff. They will still get stuff, but
No.
it's a lot more, like, it's a lot more managed.
Well, how he gets, he actually told me how he gets stuff, and you can listen to it. Basically, he gets what the new stuff is going to come, so he can make videos and teach about it, and then it gets removed from his account. like the one example that he gave was the Stella. They gave him enough materials to go through all 9 tiers to make videos, and then they had to show proof of scrapping before they went live with everybody on the server.